Love broke you open, and you called it pain. You gave your heart, or maybe it was taken, and something inside shattered. Not just sadness, a deeper undoing. All the walls you built, the careful plans, the self you presented to the world, suddenly transparent, useless, gone. You weren't simply hurt, you were emptied. And in that strange hollow space, a question stirred. Was the breaking the point? We spend our lives fortifying an ego that promises protection, but delivers isolation. Psychologists call it the false self, a curated identity built to avoid rejection. It works until love arrives. Real love, whether human or divine, bypasses the walls entirely. It doesn't attack the ego. It makes the ego irrelevant. You may be the kind of person who has felt most exposed not in conflict, but in intimacy. The moment you let yourself be loved, you discovered how much armor you were wearing. And for a terrifying moment you felt the armor crack. But here's the secret you weren't told. The ego doesn't break when you're rejected. It strengthens. Rejection gives it a reason to build higher walls. The ego breaks when you're loved, truly loved, and you let yourself receive it without armor. That's when the dismantling begins. Rumi mapped this path 8 centuries ago. Many lines attributed to him online are modern inventions, but what he actually wrote in the Masnavi and discourses is far more startling. Not tidy sayings, but living stories that still dismantle egos today. Across his works, Rumi returned again and again to a set of truths about love. Not rules, but stages of a single unfolding. The dissolution of the false self, layer by layer, until only what is real remains. These are not comfortable truths. They are surgical, and they begin with a sound you already know. Rumi opened his Masnavi with the wail of a reed flute cut from its riverbed, hollowed, emptied, and yet only then able to make music. The ego wants fullness. Love demands hollowness. The reed's emptiness is the condition for its song. Yours is the same. The ache you feel after love breaks you open, that's not a flaw. It's the first note of your real voice. Rumi tells of a peacock who plucks out his magnificent feathers with his own beak. A wise man asks why he's destroying his beauty. The peacock answers, "So long as I am beautiful, I am hunted. When I am ugly, I am free." The ego is the plumage, the bright, attractive self you present to the world. Love doesn't hunt you for it. Love invites you to shed it yourself, so you can walk through the world unafraid. Die before you die. This is a saying of the prophet, peace be upon him, that Rumi wove throughout his poetry. Let the ego die voluntarily, before physical death strips it anyway. The lover does not wait. The lover surrenders the self now while still breathing, and discovers that what remains is not emptiness, it's presence. Rumi gives us a scene. Several people touch an elephant in a pitch-black room. One touches the trunk and says it's a snake. Another touches the leg and says it's a pillar. Each is partially right and entirely wrong. The ego is each person in that room, certain it sees the whole. Love brings the light, not to shame partial sight, but to reveal that what you thought was the whole truth was only a fragment. And that revelation is humbling. A chickpea leaps up from the boiling water, trying to escape. The cook pushes it back down and says, "You were once a seed in the earth. Now you are being made into something nourishing. Do not run from the fire that cooks you." The ego resists transformation because it feels like destruction. Love's heat is not punishment, it's preparation. You are being made fit for a table you cannot yet see. A grammarian asks a boatman, "Have you ever studied grammar?" The boatman says no. The grammarian replies, "Half your life is wasted." Moments later, the boat capsizes. The boatman shouts, "Have you learned to swim?" The grammarian says no. Then your whole life is wasted. The ego collects knowledge to feel superior. Love is the swimming. It doesn't ask what you know. It asks what you can survive and still trust. Rumi wrote, in a passage from his Masnavi, "I died as mineral and became a plant. I died as plant and rose to animal. I died as animal and I was man. Why should I fear? When was I less by dying?" The ego thinks each death, each letting go, each surrender is the end. But love's breaking is not annihilation, it's evolution. You have died 1,000 times already and only grown larger. The breaking you're feeling now is not your final loss, it's your next becoming. Most people spend their lives trying to protect an ego that was never meant to last. Love is the only force strong enough to break it, and merciful enough to leave you whole. Love does not fill you. It empties you. And in that emptiness, for the first time, you are real. That is why the breaking felt like death, because it was a death of the false, a death of the frightened, a death of everything you thought you had to be. But what's left, the quiet, unguarded, burning thing that remains, that is you. The you that love always knew was there, beneath the armor, waiting for the fire. You are never being punished. You are being prepared. If you've made it this far, you're clearly someone who thinks deeply. That's rare. If you'd like to continue this journey together, consider subscribing. These conversations are better when they find the people who actually need them. What's one piece of your false self you're ready to let love burn away? And when the ego is gone, what remains? That is the secret of Fana, the annihilation of the self in the beloved. And it's the question waiting in the next video. Perhaps the breaking was never the end. Perhaps it was the beginning of something that cannot break.